Good evening, friends. And I'm doing this book reading as a sort of a new experiment from my side. In these difficult times of COVID, there are two things which became very prominent. One was book reading, and one was watching Netflix. So I won't be showing something on Netflix, but I will definitely like to discuss this book called The Tatas. Not that I'm a Parsi or anything of that sort, but basically I admire them as an industrial family, as an industrious family. And December 28th was the birthday of Ratan Tata. That is the day I bought this book. So then I thought that I should share this book with others. It's written by one Girish Kuber, who was basically editor with Lok Satta in Bombay. And he wrote a Marathi version of this book. And from that, this English translation takes place. Now let's see what he says first in the first page. You know, in the first page, he deals with a very simple aspect. He compares the family of Tatas with that of Rockefeller in USA. He says just like the Rockefellers who had a big philanthropy, Tatas had a big philanthropy, and both the people, that is Nasarwanji and the Rockefeller, started almost in the same year, and it has continued to be their domain. He says while Nasarwanji started as a cotton trading venture, Jamshedji, now he goes into the, born in the same year as Rockefeller, grew into a uh, manufacturing business, turning around and textile mills, selling up iron and steel, building a world-class hotel, stewarded only after the decades by Jamshedji's son Dorabji and Ratanji, the charismatic and larger-than-life JRD, and thereafter Ratan Tata. See, this is the lineage. Now, this is an industrial lineage which is more prominent as per this paragraph is that everybody contributed. You know, they never had a black sheep in the family who did something wrong. I don't want to comment on anybody, but there was no black sheep in the family, and all of them contributed to building their companies, thus building the nation. The theme of the book is nation building by the Tatas. You know? So I'm going to focus this entire thing. It's a 260 page book, but I can't go through 260 pages, but I'll go through snippets of it. No? Now, you see, the very first thing was after Nasarwanji was from Navsari, a small town boy. He went to Bombay, started his cotton trading, and in those days he made a profit of 40 lakh rupees. So that is where the entire push comes from, you know, and then that was passed on to generations and generation. Everybody contributed to the growth. So, but Nasarwanji history is not very clear how he did it and what exactly he went through. But you should remember that it was Jamshedji Tata, Jamshedji, who gave dreams, who sowed the dreams of industries. His very first dream was Swadeshi Mills. Right? The company started as an Empress Mills, Dharamshi Mills in Kurla in Bombay, with a capital of 55 lakhs. Now you can imagine what it must be in those days. And they acquired a property of 1.5 lakh square meters. 1.5 lakh square meters in those days. You can imagine the value of that property now. So this was the Swadeshi mill he ventured into. He took the word Swadeshi in order to put the Gandhian movement as a priority. Yes, I am with the Swadeshi lot. Very few people would know that Tatas were also farmers. Jamshedji also bought a land at a hill station in Panjgini to start a hospital for Parsis, and realizing the place would develop into an important center now, decided to buy some more land. Any other businessman would have built a hotel or leasing it on parcels of land, but Jamshedji had no plans. He traveled the world, realized the Panjgini's weather was suitable for the growth of Egyptian cotton. Thereafter, he devoted a lot of time developing coffee and other things, strawberry, which is famous in Panjgini. So this was his second venture of Jamshedji. Third, his venture was birth of Mysore silk mills. Very few people would know that Tatas went into silk mill founding also. He did a silk worming farm in Muradabad in UP, and that is where they did. Then they came back to Bombay and started a dairy farming, many towns of dairy farming. And then finally, he forayed into iron and steel. Now, this is where the challenges came because many people thought that how can an Indian make an iron and steel company? You know. So in those days, Jamshedji went to America and he told one person, "You have to come to India with me." He was an American. He said, "Why should you come?" He said, "You tell me your price and I'm ready to pay it. But you come with me, we are going to set up iron and steel." Looking at his determination, this person came with him, and that is how the entire process of iron and steel. Then he started the Taj Mahal Hotel, which we all know, at Kalagod. Now, all these things which he did was to pass it on to the next generation a huge amount of wealth, But at the same time, he also had a philosophy. After starting all these things, Jamshedji went into Indian Institute of Sciences. That was his major contribution to the nation. Now, after Jamshedji died, Dorabji took over, and Dorabji and Ratanji, his two sons, they went into and they formalized this dream of Indian Institute of Sciences. So it is called the glow after the sunset. After he had died, this was the glow. They went into hydroelectricity for Bombay in those days. TISCO started taking the shape. Tata Iron and Steel was given a proper shape. Now, one of the major highlights why TISCO came up was that it met the World War I demands. The British needed a lot of material, so they gave big orders to TISCO, and that is how they made themselves into one of the biggest things. I just read one of the comments given by the Viceroy, Lord Chelmsford. "I want to come here to express my appreciation of the great work which has been done by Tata Company during the past 4 years of this war. I can hardly imagine what we should have done during these 4 years if the Tata Company had not been able to give us rails and responded to our demands of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Palestine, and East Africa." So in those days, they became an exporting of steel. Things went on. I decided not to go into any of his personal forays of the author, where he married this and that and all that. No personal. Then they came up with Tata Oil Mills and the famous product of Lakme. This was way back in 17th. Tom Cole, they threw it there. Then they came up with Tata Industrial Bank and New India Assurance Company in 30s. Now, mind well, if you see the politics of it, the Tatas kept very close relationship with Jinnah, with Nehru, with Gandhi. And Tata still at that time, when they started in those days, employed 55,000 workers. Now, this was all the legacy of Dorabji. Dorabji introduced Olympics in India. how to sponsor an Olympic team. Not many know that Dorabji Tata, who spearheaded the movement to get Indians to participate in Olympics. Despite Tata still going through turbulent times in 20s, it was Dorabji who sponsored the Indian contingent to Antwerp Olympics. So that is how they went in. He obviously he did the Lady Tata Memorial Trust. Today also, the main trust which donations are made by Tatas, the name of the trust is Dorabji Trust. You know, we used to do this for social works Snevan. You know, we used to collect funds. And Deshmane told me once that how Dorabji Trust gave him the fund of 12 lakhs. He said, I didn't know anybody in Dorabji Trust. I just wrote a letter, sent them a presentation that this is what I'm doing for agriculture children and all that. One morning I see in my account 12 lakhs rupees. And he said, "Kahan se aaye paise?" So it was Dorabji Trust. He said, fantastic. I mean, they didn't even come to see what I was doing and yet helped me out. You know, this was the philanthropy of Dorabji Trust still continuing. After Dorabji, it was the famous JRD, Jahangir, Ratanji Dada Boy. Jahangir had a very romantic personality, very flamboyant. But you should remember that Jahangir was trained in the French army. He took his trainings in French army and they had a hard time convincing him that leave the army and come in India and handle the empire. So, well, he did it. Jahangir knew he had no choice. They brought a situation. And Jahangir's dream of going to Cambridge to pursue studies in engineering was also approved by RD. He became an architect in Cambridge before he took this. Jahangir's first contribution was birth of Tata Airlines. He decided that India should have its own airline, and hence he started Tata Airlines, which later on we all know became Air India. A lot of challenges are there in all these businesses. You know, lot of objections by the British government when they were ruling. Lot of objections by the Indian government when they started ruling. You know, the bureaucracy and all would not understand the Tatas much. We'll go through it. The business of aviation, he made it profitable in those days. A lot of people told him, no, Indians can't travel like this and all that stuff, you know. But he made it profitable. The second contribution which he made was he made Tata Steel the flagship of Tata Group. Silver lining to Tata Steel, that everything became, the steel was known, the other name to steel was Tata's. Then came birth of Tata Chemicals, where we had the Mithapur salt plant in Gujarat, where they started manufacturing salt. In those years, when JRD took over, Tata Airlines became Air India. Independence came, things started changing. JRD did not respected Gandhi, but did not believe in Gandhian way of working for the government. So he wrote a letter to Gandhi. He says, "My dear Gandhiji, you must have seen my statement in the press on the communique you issued some days ago on the subjects of forthcoming visit to England and America. I cannot tell you how hurt I am with your views you expressed and the language you used. What made it worse was that some other members of this group was not given an opportunity of removing the apprehensions, which was evidently entrenched in this letter. I am leaving on Friday, however. Gandhiji opposed his visit to England and America. I am leaving on Friday morning and expect to return sometimes in August, when I hope I shall see an opportunity of discussing this matter with you. With kind regards, JRD Tata, 9th May 1945. Gandhiji wrote to him, Bhai Jahangir I know you're angry. I've gone through your angry note. If you can, I understand your anger. If you have all the not to commit yourselves to anything, my note protects you. My answer is hypothetical question. If the hypothesis is wrong, normally the answer is wrong and is therefore protective of you all. There is no question of my referring to your visit as I was dealing with an assumption. I hope I am clear. M.K. Gandhi. So all this, he has several letters written to his wife, then to Nehru. Nehru did a very bad trick on him, like what normally the politicians do. He made Rafi Ahmad Kidwai speak against Air India. Europe, Air India is this, Air India is looting people, Air India is this, it's private ownership. And when JRD went to Nehru, Nehru did not respond. So JRD knew that this is hand in glove. He doesn't want to speak, he wants his ministers to speak against me. And thus the process of nationalization started. However, there were some ministers who said, including Patel, that the airline can be nationalized, but the chairman will be JRD. We can't rule him out. So JRD still maintained his thing. But then, very sadly, when the opposition came to power, Morarji Desai removed him as the chairman also. so, so this was the story of his airline. Huh? Yes. I mean, what happens is there was, see, I mean, in those days, the media was not that strong. Defending Tatas would like defending capitalists, you know. Right. So they took advantage of that and went in for it. But Tata showed his grace. He did not leave Air India. Air India left him, but he did not leave Air India. He still traveled by Air India. And P.C. Lal, who took over, he was a air chief before he took over Air India, said that whenever JRD travels, he should be accorded the comforts of the chairman. Simple. So he never left Air India. Another of JRD's contribution was obviously the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Bombay, Dr. Homi Bhabha, and then the sad death of Homi Bhabha when Air India crashed. He forayed into locomotives. Telco came in. Then came another person by the name of Sumant Mulgaonkar, who joined Tata's and helped a lot of development in telco. Tisco contributed to Sumant Mulgaonkar. So as a tribute to him, they made Tata Sumo. Yeah, initials. Yeah. Sumant Mulgaonkar, Sumo. He served them very loyally. He expanded them. You see, Tata's, even the non-Parsis who joined them, expanded heavily. Not only him, but even FC Kohli, who joined TCS, made TCS a record company. 250,000 workers next to Indian Railways. Next to Indian Railways. Chapter 12, Air India is nationalized. Devastating decline begins. Now the problems began with Tatas. They started wondering what is going to happen. First drawback, Indira Gandhi declared emergency. That gave them a lot of problems because Palkhiwala was one of the directors in Tata. Neenu Masani was another director in Tata. Pilu Modi was another director in Tata. And all anti-Indira Gandhi. So he had a very tough time going to Delhi and telling that, Baba, it's okay, this is an industry, they are into politics on their own convictions and all that. To make matters worse, Naval Tata also was in opposition, his own brother. So that even created a lot of problems. After that, they thought they had come over the problem, but then came Morarji Desai, who sacked them off. So they really didn't. I mean, JRD was dismissed from Air India. Morarji Desai wrote to him that you have had enough of it. We have therefore decided to appoint Air Chief Marshal P.C. Lal. He is already part-time chairman of Indian Airlines, who we thought would be spared by you as the chairman of both airlines. You know P.C. Lal very well, and I hope you agree with my choice. So this was the thing. For some time, Naval Tata came in the picture, and very surprisingly, who helped Tatas in the cabinet of Janata Party was George Fernandez. So he has written a special note, the author, on George Fernandez, unexpected ally. They wanted to nationalize ACC, George opposed it. There was a strike in Tata Steel, George said, I'll take care of it. You cannot have a strike there. Tata Electric Company. Mrs. Gandhi was very upset when Naval Tata fought against Congress in Bombay. She was quite upset on this issue. In her meetings with JRD, she would either look away or busy with papers in hand. This was typical of her. But Fernandez was convinced. And though the chief minister was Vasantdada Patil, Congress CV, he told him, State Electricity Board should not come back to you. It will be with the Tatas. That's it. He said. Of course, another thing was they wanted to nationalize Tata Steel. So Biju Patnaik, who was a minister, very powerful minister at that time of steel, said, I am going to nationalize these guys. They have too much money. So Fernandez told him, no, not to do it. Don't do this. You'll finish off the steel business in this country. So then Fernandez convinced Morarji Bhai that you have already removed him from Air India. Now, why do you guys have to follow him everywhere he goes, Leave it. So then he was left alone. Tata Steel was left alone. There were many issues came up with JRD, his own family, his history, his ill health, his relationship with the Birlas. Birlas bought more stock in Tata Sons than the Tatas themselves. So he feared, but then Ghanshyam Das assured him that I will never do what H.P. Nanda was doing to, Swaraj Paul was doing to H.P. Nanda. I'll never sit with Congress to harass you. Tata's feared, okay, he might sit like what Swaraj Paul sat with Indira and harassed Nanda like anything. These people will also do it to me. They didn't do it. So that was one thing gracious about Ghanshyam Das. Then obviously one of the best chapters as far as the personal thing is concerned is the twilight years when he was dying, JRD. JRD had reconciled that it's all over. A rich man at 89 said, yes, there is nothing. God has called me. I'm all over. Many doctors came from abroad. They wanted to encourage him. JRD, don't say this. JRD, have confidence. JRD said, don't cheat me. I want to go. Let me go. He had a doctor called Dr. Contractor. It was she. He used to rely a lot on it. One of his relatives, Simon Tata, was a French guy. Spent a lot of time with JRD. She could sense JRD moving conscious to semi-conscious and back. At one point, JRD said, I'm about to discover a new world. It is going to be very interesting, very interesting. This is just before he passed away. He stopped mid-sentence and looked at her, his eyes glowing with a strange light. He was possibly seeing the new world he was about to enter. Simon looked at him. JRD fell silent after having spoken his last words. He lapsed into coma and then he left on 29th November 1993. Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata was no more. The war went on and Ratan Tata was taken in the thing. You should remember that all the Tatas were down to earth. You'll never see them with film parties and all these things, you know. They're very down to earth. You'll rather see them in a friend society in Pune rather than with the actors and actresses and all that stuff. So when Ratan Tata took over, there were people thinking that he'll change the Tata culture, but he did not change. He continued with the same culture. The Tata Group, which he took over and made it more flexible, was 270,000 employees, 13,70,000 households, depending on Tatas. Ratan Naval Tata. Ratan was the son of Naval Tata, not of Jamshed. Even Ratan Tata was said that he is a VIP on Indian Airlines and Air India because he was inherited from Jamshed JRD, Jahangir, sorry. He was a VIP who traveled alone. He never had that bouncers and all that with him, you know, all the escorts. He had a tiff with VP Singh, Ratan Tata. So they were in the same flight. And VP Singh was reading the letter which Tata had written, and he was sitting at the back. So VP Singh didn't reply him in that letter. But when he went out on the launch, he called him and said, "Take back the letter. Chalo, this is my answer. I've understood what you want to say. I don't want to reply in writing." Like he said, that was gracious, you know, like I mean, kind of thing. He had a lot of problems of old sickening industries like Nelco, which had gone down heavily. So he made a turnaround. And then came the flagship, which was almost became their flagship, was the Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, with which they went right into America, Canada, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Israel, Egypt, Jordan. Everywhere they became big consulting, defeating many other consultancies. Now, so when you say FC Kohli, who made TCS, the company, they credit it to him. They don't take their own credit. His name was Pakir Chand Kohli. So that's he was the father of Indian software industry. The Tatas came up with a university management system called Campus. And I went for the presentation. Everybody was flattering Mr. Kohli, you know, it's a grand software, this, that. I said, no, sir. I found very simple a package from Ahmedabad. You know, we had that, it was that company, accounting package. There was this accounting package from Ahmedabad which made history. A Tally. I told him clearly, sir, with due respect, I found Tally very easy to use than what you described Campus. He didn't lose his head. He didn't lose his head. There were 30 guys who were admiring him, Pakir Chand Kohli. I was the only dissenter. He told this person, make a note of it. Make a note of it. Why? Why Tally? He said, and then he said, okay, this is not the first time I'm hearing Tally. मुझे बहुत सारे लोगों ने बोला, and the worst was my son. So I think we are launching into a wrong ferry where somebody else has already mastered the system. Let's not brag a lot being a TCS company, you know, let's be realistic. let the guy take his run, like I mean, in the sense. That was at Oberoi's. Later on, it became Trident. Then there was Subramaniam Ramadurai, who took TCS to America. Taxation challenges came, competition challenges came, lot of government challenges came. The the only thing which they did was they kept themselves cool, did not go through the thing. Then there came the small car, big trouble, which obviously was our Mamta Banerjee, who threw them out of Singur. And Mr. Modi, he says he took them by an SMS, but it was not like that. It was not one simple SMS from Modi and he came running over here. No, no, no. There were a lot of direct. They had sent the chief secretary to see the Tatas. Tatas had a lot of questions about Gujarat. And then he said, okay, I'll come. Nano Project Lev, Narendra Modi welcomes Tatas to Gujarat. And so on and so forth. And then obviously, Ratan Tata's another great contribution was acquisition of Land Rover and Jaguar. And he squared it up with them. They were the fellows who were laughing at Tatas once. Ye kya leke aaya? What is an Indian car like? And when they came up with this, when he acquired Jaguar and when he acquired them, they were stunned. He did not say, tum kya leke aaya, He showed his grace and said, okay, you go. That's it. I'm the new boss. Like, he took Tata brand abroad. He made Tata. You see, India was normally seen as very bad car market of three car companies: Ambassador, Fiat, and Standard, and to some extent Jeeps. After this acquisition, the Indian car industry, people started noting they has the money to buy a foreign company, the stakes. So all these things combined together, now there was a search for a successor. There were problems. Cyrus Mistry came in. He had a different culture, very dynamic, very this thing. The Tata's blood could not tolerate it. His followers in TCS and Tata Motors and Telco and all these were aghast. Sir, ye kaise? I mean, when you were so simple, how is this man acting like a wildfire, in the company? Basically, Cyrus Mistry was the scion of another illustrious family in Bombay called Sapurji Palanji. Sapurji Palanji always stood beside Tata all his life, even though he had a more stake than Tata's in the companies. He never tried to overthrow them because he told the Tatas that, look, you can manage it, I can't manage it. I'm interested in what my dividends are coming. I don't want to enter into an area where I'll mess it up. So this was the search of a successor which failed, and Ratan Tata still needs one. So there were some interesting interviews at the end. See, nowadays we only have 40 minutes on Zoom. So there's an interview with Ratan Tata, which has the author himself. The author is a very neutral person. He is not a Tata employee. He's a pressman, very professional. He wrote for Lok Satta and Indian Express as editors. So very, very neutral man. And very first he said was that why he did this, why he wrote this book was because he respected them, not for money or anything. He wrote because he respected the Tatas. Author's note: the narrative of the Tatas spans about 200 years. 250 page is just nothing, according to him. This is a work translation from Marathi to English. As such, the words written may not be exactly with the same spoken as they are. But we have kept maximum precaution as that the meanings don't change. So 200 years of history, he says, he has written. He's thankful to a lot of people, and you'll be very surprised to know that he's also thankful to Raj Thackeray for helping him. I don't know which way he had, but consider to that, yeah, yeah, Tata, Raj Thackeray, Nitin Gadkari, and then Sharad Pawar, and then of course you have the others who are there. Quite a few of them wrote a review for him. Just see this question and how he answers. The author asked him, JRD had once, he asked Ratan Tata, JRD had once told his sister that he had been able to achieve whatever he did thanks to the Tata surname. When you took over, did the same thought occur to you? How much role the Tata values play in you did, what you did? The Tata-ness is the biggest responsibility I carried on my shoulders. I had to live up to its values. It was something I was always aware of. The name carries certain values, and it is my duty to ensure that we protect them. These values are something I was born with. I had grown up with, seeing how the employees and the domestic helpers help. Hence, I treated them like Tata family members. I did not have to do anything differently. It was just natural in me. There is something unique about the Tata Group. Indians feel that it is their own. Not many would know that 60% of this revenue comes from outside India, yet in a special place in the hearts of India. Why do you think so? So Ratan Tata replies, such a feeling or emotion is not because of the Tata name. The group has been associated with all things new. It has been a part of change which India has gone through over a century. The group has earned the trust and the love thanks to the generations of efforts put in by the people. The group is not a royal family where the firstborn would become the head. Each successor has ensured that he earns the respect with his work. It requires one to put a lot of hard work, and the hard work is rewarding, beautiful. It gives tremendous satisfaction. It has never happened just because you are a Tata. You should develop this value. One has to work hard for it. Many questions they have come up and many answers which Ratan Tata has given. The author asking, JRD was a loving in nature. Everyone loved his presence. Yet when you were made the chairman, there was bitterness left in it, left in the name. I'm not 100% sure. But I do believe he had indirectly promised a few people that they would be chairman. He had strong likes and dislikes. He had considered a few people suitable for the post, but over the years he got disillusioned with them. Then he would think someone else. Finally, he selected me. It was good in a way. Had I been the apple of his eyes from day one, I may not have got this job. Then he laughs it out. Did you consider Nasli Wadia as a potential successor? Nasli was like a son to JRD. Did not have children, as he did not have children, and he used to shower his love on him like a father. He did believe that Nasli would be an able successor, but for some reason not known to me, that did not happen, and some disconnect grew between the two. It's a good interview taken. I'll go through the last question. Yeah. Do you think changes are taking place in the way people look at industry? I definitely feel so. Everyone wants growth, but but it is jealousy and pettiness now. We try to put each other down, and that is what I dislike. It is heartening that the Tata Group is a part of the change. We do believe that wealth creation is an important part of it. So, a lot of things he has put together. There was a question of airlines he had asked. The author writes, the interview was over. Ratan Tata spent a little time at home, conferred with the veterinary doctor regarding his dog's health, and then left for Singapore. The next day, newspaper carried the important story: the Tata Group and Singapore Airlines are coming together. And he never told me in that interview. So this is what it is. It's a good book to read. A good for a lot of personal details also discussed. Okay, thanks all of you. Special thanks to Madhulika madam. I wish you were here. And special thanks to Jitendra Singh Gaikwad. I'll keep a copy reserved for you. You can collect it day after tomorrow. And all of them who joined.